And welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Put on Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and I'm podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. Of course, the weather, everything like that, but football season is upon us. I'm feeling good. I got my Tim Brown jersey on. The Giants took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers. That's always a good sign. Ryan, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I didn't realize today. I thought it was Wednesday all day, so I was getting pumped up thinking there's a game tomorrow night, and then I realized it's Tuesday. So got a little ahead there. I got to wait another day for a football game.
Yeah, you're busy when you forget what day if you forget what day it is, right? You know how that goes. ROPOW podcast is my Twitter handle on Twitter, and Ryan is RHOLM22 on Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. We also have a brand new Put on Raiders podcast Twitter page. I'm posting stuff there all the time. So definitely check that out, along with the Put on Waivers podcast one as well. So you can do that. I want to shout out on YouTube our new subscribers, Dark Raider, T Ready, Marcus LePay. I love real names. John Sinclair, Herman Thompson, and Jeff Garrison, who left a pretty cool comment as well. So that's always cool that you guys are watching us on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, like button, set those alerts as well. And then we will be posting. I'm going to be posting some merch on there too. So definitely check that out. 858-299-5592 is our text line. Chicago, New York, Miami, Sacramento. Thank you for watching and listening. All right. Now let's get down to business. All right. So we are down to the West. So of all the stuff we had to do as far as research, once we got to the NFC West and the AFC West, as far as doing research, I have these teams in my head, so I pretty much know the deal as far as that goes. Let's start with the NFC West before we go to the AFC West as we continue to preview each division. I want to start off with the Cardinals. Big year for their head coach. It's not going to be about his beautiful house and anything like that. It's going to be about, can he coach football? Can he win big-time football games in a division where you have Carroll, you have Shanahan, you have McVay. All those guys are really top coaching, guys. If you did a poll of top 10, those guys will probably be there. Ryan, let's start off with the Arizona Cardinals. I was kind of surprised that, a guy like JJ Watt, who wanted to be part of a winner or perennial Pro Bowl team, chose this team only because, and I'm not knocking the Cardinals because my Raiders haven't done much better, but maybe, go play with your brother in Pittsburgh, maybe go to, San Francisco, maybe go to a team, maybe go to Pacific Northwest and go play with Russell Westbrook. There are some spots here where you're almost guaranteed to make the playoffs. I don't think a playoff berth is guaranteed at all for the Arizona Cardinals.
No, JJ Watt ended up in Arizona for one reason. That was the paycheck that's coming his way. Those game checks are pretty hefty. He probably got more than he would get in other destinations. But I want to like this team, but I just can't do it. For me, Arizona is going to finish fourth in this division. And I like the quarterback. I don't love him, but I kind of look at who's the coach. I think Kingsbury is a clear fourth best coach in this division. The quarterback is third or fourth, depending on how you feel about the 49ers quarterbacks. I think it's the worst defense in the division. That's not too bad. The other three in this division are pretty good. And I just don't know how the right side of this offensive line is going to hold up. Who's going to run the ball? Are they going to run the ball, or are they just going to throw the ball all day?
Yeah.
I don't trust Cliff Kingsbury. I do like some pieces on defense, but I still think they're another draft or two away from having a pretty good defense. But they're going to get after the passer as long as JJ Watt stays healthy. I like Chandler Jones. I think Marcus Golden is an underrated pass rusher, but I don't really love the corners on this team either. So I have a lot of question marks, but I think they're going to score points. They're going to have weeks where they're going to get hot. They're going to spread teams out, and they're going to put up 28, 31 points in some games and pull some out. I just don't think at the end of the day, when you stack them up in this division, that they're better than any of the other three teams.
And I mean, this is a team that could they lead the league in pass attempts? Like, I mean,
There's a likelihood, yes.
this is it's a strong likelihood that they're going to lead the league in attempts, and I don't know if that's a really good thing when you have a quarterback who is so small in stature. You saw last year. I mean, one thing this division has is pass rush. All three of those teams can rush the passer. So I would be worried if I was Cliff Kingsbury. I don't think they're thinking. I don't think Cliff Kingsbury thinks about protection first. I think he thinks about like trying to throwing the football and maybe protection later. I'm not sure. I mean, Rodney Hudson was going to help. Maybe they should have. Maybe they should have got Gabe Jackson as well. Like maybe they should try to do all that. I just don't. I don't love this team. I think the funny thing about it is that this team does give the Niners fits. They give that defense fits. The quarterback is something who the Niners kind of struggle with. So I'm with you. They could be third place. They could be last place. Like, but I don't see how they can win this division. Or
No.
make a play. I mean, maybe a wild card, but I don't see four teams making it. I can see two teams making it, maybe three teams making it from this division, but not four.
Yeah, I like the Rodney Hudson pickup. Clearly, we've seen a lot of them as Raiders fans, but at the end of the day, is the center more important than the tackle spot? I don't like any of the tackles on this roster. Like, I would have rather them gone out and got an actual tackle to help protect Murray here rather than load up on Hudson, who's a good player, but they give up a third round pick for a center that's not going to help them in the run game, but he will help them in pass protection. But it's not going to matter when the defensive ends in this division are running around the edges. So
What are your
it's an interesting piece.
What are your thoughts about obviously the whole contract situation with Chandler Jones, and then also if I'm looking at the roster real quick. What role does Isaiah Simmons play? Do you like the kind of the jack of all trades players, or do you want to have somebody who just is dominant at one thing or has a defined role with a team? Because do they know how to use Isaiah Simmons? I mean, that's probably the biggest thing I look at it.
I don't think they do because last year they couldn't really find a role for him, and then went out and got Zaven Collins, who is a big, fast guy, plays a similar position, probably a better football player instincts wise. Isaiah Simmons is a great athlete, don't get me wrong, but he's not really a safety, and he's not really physical enough to hold up in the box as a run defender. So they can use him in some nickel packages, get him lined up with some tight ends, maybe blitz him from time to time. But can he hold up as an every down player over 17 games and be productive? I have questions about that. So the defensive coordinator is going to have to tailor some parts of the scheme to fit Isaiah Simmons. But he's going to have to do the same thing with Zaven Collins. So I just don't like the pairing of those guys together. I'd like one of them on the team, but I don't know if you can get away with two of them.
Yeah, I think that this is it's a situation here where we're kind of looking at a head coach who might not be there next year. I mean, when you have a young quarterback, when you have all those pieces, I mean, you have a situation where the head coach might not be there. Let's roll to Seattle. So thoughts about Seattle here. Obviously the whole thing about Russell maybe wanting to leave. Who knows? That could have been, maybe wifey doesn't like the Pacific Northwest, all the rain, every stuff like that. Who knows? But obviously they figured those things out. They want to run the football more. That's what they want to do. Play action. They don't want to quote unquote let Russ cook. As far as that goes, I think there's gonna be plenty of. They probably when I hear people say in Seattle they want to run the football more, they just want to be balanced. That's really what he wants to do is be balanced. And Lockett, Metcalf, they have a lot of players on the outside who can make plays. I love to see what Lockett has become. He was just he was K-State. He was with the K-State, right? And he was only a punt returner, and he turned himself into like a really good wide receiver in the National Football League. So I give him a lot of credit for that. What are your thoughts about Seattle? Russell Wilson, that whole dynamic between him and Pete Carroll. Obviously, he's not going anywhere because nobody wants to, be the guy who traded Russell Wilson. Thoughts about Seattle here?
I like Seattle. I think they're going to fight for a playoff spot. I'd hesitate to say, yeah, they're a lock, but I think they're going to be in the mix. I do like the weapons. Obviously, Russell Wilson is an elite quarterback in the league. They do need to run the ball, but they can't get away from letting Russ cook. As you mentioned, he has to be able to throw the ball and work those guys outside and not just do it off of play action and take shots every now and again. So I do like Lockett. I do like Metcalf. I do like the rookie they picked up in Eskridge from Central Michigan. I think he's going to help. They did They did help the offensive line with Gabe Jackson, who's to me, he's an average guard, but he's an upgrade of what they had. Still have questions about Brandon Shell on the right side. The running backs are, Chris Carson can break some tackles. He's serviceable. He's fine. My questions on this team actually go to the other side of the ball, which you don't really talk about. I think they're going to have some questions on defense. Who's going to rush the passer outside of an older Carlos Dunlap and maybe, Benson Mayoa? You have LJ Collier on this team. They picked up Kerry Hyder from the 49ers, but is he going to get 8 sacks again like he did in San Francisco? I doubt it. And who's going to play cornerback on this team? Who's covering the wide receivers? They have Trey Brown as a rookie, DJ Reed. They picked up Sidney Jones, Trey Flowers. Some okay players, but there's not 2 guys there that stand out and say, okay, these are the starters, and these guys are going to hold up for 17 games and be able to cover elite wide receivers in the league. So, and they're going to have to count on Jamal Adams to bring pass rush against. They're going to have to bring him in the box. So they're going to play a lot of, cover 1 and cover 3, where they're going to have single high safeties. Middle of the field's going to be closed, but they're going to struggle on the outside. So I think this defense might take a step backwards from what we're used to. This isn't the Legion of Boom that we saw during their Super Bowl era by any stretch.
No, I don't think so either. And this is why, getting leads and getting, quote unquote, Russ the cook and getting some points on the board, I think is vital for the team. He's, you have to do that in order to really they're going to make hay, if they're going to win the division, if they're going to challenge for a playoff spot. The NFC is not the AFC, where it might be a little bit hard to make the playoffs. I think a guy like Gerald Everett is going to really help the middle of the field. He's a really kind of underrated, underused tight end, and with the Rams, because Goff was his quarterback. Now he has Russell Wilson as his quarterback. So I think him in the middle, he might be a safe bet to have some pretty good games if you're doing fantasy and stuff like that. But because you have the respect of Metcalf, the respect of Lockett on the other side, I think Everett could have a really big year for them.
No, he's a good athlete. He's a good pass catcher. He's not going to block much, but I actually like the tight end group a little bit. I like Will Dissly. He's not a super athletic. He's not a great blocker, but he does everything okay, and he can make some plays in the middle of the field. And I like Colby Parkinson, the big 6'7", 6'8" tight end that got out of Stanford a couple of years ago. So he can help in the red zone. So they have a little bit of everything there in the tight end room. So I think it's going to be their best set of tight ends they've had in quite some time. But like I said, I'm not worried about the offense on the Seahawks. I'm worried about this defense holding people under 22, 23 points a game. They might be giving up 26, 27 points a game. And if you're running the ball and shortening the game and you're getting less possessions for your quarterback, is that going to work? I don't think it's going to.
Yeah, that's something that's gonna be big for them. Let's go to before we go to San Francisco. Let's go to the Rams here. The Los Angeles Rams. It's interesting because I kind of commend them for what they're trying to do. Like, they're just trying to win championships. They're just trying to win. They're all in on, just trading draft picks, trading whoever. They're not worried about trying to develop anything. They're just saying, hey, we have a great player in the secondary. We have a great player on the defensive line. We're going to build around them. They weren't happy with Jared Goff. They found a suitor. They actually found somebody who would trade for him, which is amazing. That's probably take that contract. That's probably
executive of the year
role right there. Just finding somebody to take Jared Goff's contract. They took it to Detroit. Now you get the guy who you want. They have a good relationship with Matthew Stafford. He didn't play a lick. He's probably one of the most. I'm probably anxious to see how he fits in this offense. I love the receivers. This is one of my favorite receiving cores in all of football with Robert Woods, fight on, and Cooper Kupp. And then you add the speed of Deshaun Jackson, who is, I've heard interviews with him. He's really excited about playing in this offense. They are going to run those tight formations. They are going to run those that stretch running game. What are your thoughts about the Rams here as they look like they could be the possible favorites to win this division?
Yeah, and to be clear, Matt Stafford is a clear upgrade over Jared Goff. So, you hear scuttlebutt back and forth that it wasn't. To me, it's a clear upgrade. It's not even close. Matthew Stafford has been in a bad situation in Detroit, and he's got legit arm talent. He can throw the ball down the field. He's used to having those bigger receivers he's had in Detroit, the Mike Williams, the Calvin Johnsons. They don't have that on this team. These are all smaller guys for the most part, quick guys. But he's going to take his shots downfield off the play action. Sean McVay's going to dial it up, and he's going to be able to get Robert Woods and Deshaun Jackson and Van Jefferson and Cooper Kupp the ball in space. I think they're going to run the ball okay. I do have concerns about this offensive line as well, because when we're talking about the defenses in this division, are these offensive lines going to hold up? Andrew Whitworth is older. He missed a lot of time last year. Rob Havenstein's an older guy on the right side. They don't have a lot of depth. This team, if they stay healthy, they're going to win the division, in my opinion. There is no depth on this team. So if they lose some guys, they could have some drop off at positions quickly because they've invested a lot of money in 4 or 5 guys. Defensively, they had the number 1 ranked defense in the league last year. I don't think they're going to repeat that, but they're going to be a top 10, top 7 defense. They have elite playmakers at different levels in Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. So, I mean, they can take away receivers when they need to, and they can get as much pressure as any team in the league. I do like Leonard Floyd back on this team off the edge too, but this team, the questions for me is depth. They have to stay healthy. If this team gets injuries, like I said, and they've already lost the running back, if they have injuries elsewhere on this team, they could have a steep drop off in production in pretty much every position on the field. So they have to stay healthy.
Yeah, health will be huge, no question about it for them. And they did not play. I mean, they really didn't play anybody of consequence in the preseason. They made sure that they didn't lose anybody, at least in the preseason. They opened against the Bears, and I think you're going to see them too. Like the minute they have some kind of like, if they have a 2-score lead second half, you almost have to kind of maybe try to put it in the bag at the end of the game, because they just can't afford to lose anybody, like you said, no question about it. So everybody thinks I'm a Niner hater. So I'm a Raider fan, but I did not grow up in the Bay Area, so I don't really care what the Niners do. I just have it's irrelevant to me what they do. Raiders play them once every 4 years, so who cares? So I'm going to say this. So I think they have a pretty good roster. I think there's some holes in the roster. I think that I would have probably, I probably would have paid
Buckner.
But I would have paid Buckner. You can't put a price tag on somebody like that. Kinlaw is not panning out right now. McGlinchey is okay. So they had to overpay, not overpay, but the left tackle is one of the best football. Trey Williams is one of the best football players in the league. So we all know how good he is. I think the one thing that I would say is people are really counting on heavily the head coach of this team. Good play caller, a really good a leader on this team. But the one thing I would say is passed on Mahomes, passed on Watson. Watson's in his own trouble right now, but just